Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. And this right here, this is G Money on the phone. Grant Mitchell calling in from Georgia Bulldogs country, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. G Money, Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I got a tear in my eye, Tanner, because even though I'm not recording the video, I was still mouthing along to certified G, bona fide stud, can't teach that. It's just a force of habit. It's muscle memory.
There you go. How do people live down there without Wi-Fi, Grant? It's different in the South.
You know what's funny? So I'm down at my girl's place. Her little brother has his high school graduation today, so that's the reason we're down here. And I always joke with her because we're actually both from Gainesville. I'm from Gainesville, Virginia. She's from Gainesville, Georgia. And I always joke with her like it's a fake Gainesville. And one of the things I started saying recently was they didn't even put Wi-Fi in that town until 2 years ago. And she always gets mad at me, blah blah blah. So we come down here, and what do you know? Within the first 24 hours of us being here, the Wi-Fi goes out. So I'm currently, like you said, on the phone calling in, but we're making the best of it. And as long as the little brother enjoys his day, then that's the whole reason for the trip.
Is he going to be a Georgia Bulldog?
He is going to, I believe, the University of North Georgia, which
Okay.
is about 30 minutes away from here. And then I don't know if he wants to transfer to Georgia. I'm trying to remember the exact situation. He had a complicated college decision process because he was getting recruited by a lot of D1 schools to play soccer. Like Clemson was after him, South Carolina was after him. So he had to balance that decision. Does he want to play D1 soccer? Because if you do, as you know, former athlete yourself, that's a huge time commitment. So there's just a lot of things at play, and he just decided to go here. From what I can tell, he seems to be kind of a homebody. So I think going just 30 minutes up the road's probably played into his decision making.
Well, I'll tell you what, you go to school in Athens, you better watch it. You better be looking to your left and right with those cars flying by.
Yeah, you got to be alert at all times.
You gotta be alert all the time. I think that 30% of the football team's on the racing team too, so you gotta be ready to go. I got my Alabama shirt on today, Grant. Roll Tide.
Is
I
that
didn't
on
even
is
try
that
for
on
that.
purpose? Are you
No,
trying to start a war with me down here?
nope, didn't even try. There is no war because Coach DeBoer's got the boys ready to go this season, so it's not even gonna be Coach Smart better be worried about his team's miles per hour on the road because Alabama's coming to whoop their ass on the football field.
Did you see that the graphic going around on Twitter of the top coaches in college football? They had Kalen DeBoer at 8 or 9. It was somewhere towards the bottom, and someone competent said Kalen DeBoer is 9-0 against every coach above him on this list. And of course, they had Kirby Smart up there, but they had Dan Lanning, they had Sark and Brian Kelly, and I was reading this list. It's like, they're right. Kalen DeBoer has beaten all these guys, and he has not lost.
You know what's funny? Like, we're going to talk about college football all the time on this show moving forward as we get closer to football season. But you look back at the Georgia Alabama game, and that was like the marquee win for DeBoer. It's like, wow, he's arrived. Like, he is that guy. Nick Saban is gone. The program's still in good hands. Like, it was actually like they were not prepared to play this football game. They got really lucky in the beginning of it, and then Georgia started playing football, and they found a way to hold on to it. But it's amazing how you frame it differently. Like undefeated Alabama team at the time, wow, they're here. Where if that was end of the season and they pulled off that win, it'd be like, okay, the second half Alabama was what they were.
Yeah, that's the game was very much a tale of two halves. And I think we talked about this after it happened. I thought that it was obviously a testament to Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama staff for being prepared with such a great game script. If you can scheme up the first 15 plays, the first quarter, whatever you want to do, and that's the result, you're up 28-0, then that's coaching. That's preparation, and they deserve all the credit in the world for that. But like you said, for Georgia to be able to come back, and if we look back at it with what we know at the end of the season, which was Carson Beck really did not come anywhere close to hitting expectations. The Georgia receivers led the country in drops. The running game was not that great. For them to come back in the way that they did also does maybe say, hey, that was probably an unacceptable sort of stretch from Alabama. Even though they won, that should never be happening on defense.
Miami's going to be good this year, Grant. Carson Beck's going to be very good. I have a feeling.
I'm wondering what's gonna happen to him in his draft stock because I was looking at one of my favorite things to do after the NFL draft is go back and look at odds to be drafted number one from like the preseason. And Carson Beck, I want to say it was Carson Beck and Shador tied for like the best odds, and they were like plus 200. and Beck's back in college.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to be a first round pick, high first round, because Carson Beck's that guy. You saw it at times last year. You didn't see it a lot, but at times you saw that he was clearly very good. But anyways, Grant, this podcast today is about how Angel Reese can't make layups and some NBA talk. But before we break that down, tell the people why they need to check out WSN.com.
Yeah, guys. Well, number one, commitment. That's the biggest thing you're going to get because even though the internet's out, I'm still here making it happen. Tanner is the mastermind putting this all together, getting me on the call, getting the video, all that stuff. But if you do go to WSN.com, then you are simply going to get access to some of the best betting insights in the entire sports betting industry. It's Tanner, it's myself, it's a team of experts. We're breaking down games, sharing player props, giving you some different angles to look at games. Maybe you can find some advantages over the sports books. And above all else, we got promo codes too. So if you want to get some extras like profit boosts or bonus bets for all that great stuff, go to WSN.com. You will find it all right there waiting for you with a nice little bow on top.
There you go. So Angel Reese last night had a hell of a performance. We're going to pull up the stats here. This is crazy. This is insane. This is not photoshopped. This sequence here. In the course of 20 seconds, she had 5 offensive rebounds, all because of missed shots by herself, missed layups, blocks. She was stuffed by Jonquel Jones a few times, and she picked up 5 offensive rebounds in 20 seconds. And people wonder why Angel Reese gets so much crap. And you know what the biggest thing, too, here is? Last night's
What's
game,
that?
too, as well. 2 points, 12 rebounds, 8 on the offensive glass. That's not effort. That's just because she sucks. And then 0 for 8 for field goals. The biggest thing here is Angel Reese, and I was reading a really good take on Twitter when it came down to this. Angel Reese gets a lot of crap for the rebounds, miss shot, rebound, miss shot, rebound. She's a selfish basketball player because she doesn't kick it out to her teammates. If you get stuffed 2 times in a row, you probably should kick it out. Probably. She didn't do that.
Yeah, so we're only 2 games into the WNBA season for the Chicago Sky, but she is averaging 7 points, 14 rebounds, 14 and a half, which is good, obviously, but the 7 points is on 22% shooting, 38% from the free throw line, 1 assist to 5 turnovers per game, and she has the worst plus minus in the entire league. And I don't want this to come off as a personal attack of her. Like this is literally just me reading the stats, and this is going to sound really weird, but bear with me here. Angel Reese to me is in a kind of a bucket that Brock Purdy was in, which is like, are they the worst players in the league? Absolutely not. But with Purdy, he was discussed in the MVP conversation. With Angel Reese, she's discussed in the Caitlin Clark conversation. And it's like these players are just not there because they are being connected to their contemporaries. They're being elevated to where they should. We should not be discussing Angel Reese. I'm sorry. If we were just judging her off of the merits of what she does on the court, this is a big who does not attempt jump shots, who's shooting 38% for her career. And she's only 2 games into her second year. I get all of that. She's got plenty of potential. She's an elite rebounder, one of the best in the WNBA. But like, come on, man. If you want to call her selfish, you want to call her undisciplined, whatever terms you want to lose. She is just a horrible offensive basketball player, and that's the reality. And that's not a personal attack. That's not, if we're gonna tie into some of the narratives going around, it's not because she's a woman. It's not because she's black. It's not because she's a black woman. It's just simple stats. That's where it is.
Well, the problem with the WNBA, I think, when you bring up these critiques of Angel Reese, people take it too personally. People only really criticize. I mean, obviously, stuff seeps in on the internet, but that's the internet. Angel Reese, people criticize the basketball, and it becomes an attack on the personal. And I think that's how they take it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Which is a
100%.
problem.
I'm sure you follow NBA Centel like we all do,
Yeah.
and they put out a photoshopped picture because it is a Centel. It's a troll page, a fake page. Anyone who doesn't know, they present themselves as if they're reporting real news, but they're not. And they put out a Photoshop picture with some odds from Polymarket, fake odds, that said that the WNBA was considering banning booing from arenas. And the replies were just flooded with these WNBA fans who probably aren't even WNBA fans, probably started watching a year ago, might not even watch, might just like the attention that's coming to women's sports, and they're trying to cancel the decision makers of the WNBA, or it's these old these NBA fans from the 80s who are like, look how soft this league is. The simple fact is that this league right now is just not ready for all of the attention that it claims it wants. People are not ready for the scrutiny, and like you said, that's when things get out of hand. That's when we start personalizing everything and saying it's an attack of the person. Like, no, if you're a professional athlete, I'm going to go judge you based on what you do when you're out on the court. And if that's too much to handle, then you're not ready to be in the spotlight.
Why does Angel Reese suck so bad at basketball though? That's my thing. Like she, as Nick Wright said, and we talked about this, she's a wildly famous rebounder, and that's because she misses shots and she doesn't pass and all that. But like she's a big girl. It's almost like she didn't get better in the offseason. Like I feel like she should be able to dominate some of the people she goes against, and she just doesn't do it. I don't know if that's an athleticism issue. I don't know if that's a preparation issue, but it doesn't seem like she's ready to play basketball right now.
Yeah, I agree about the whole off-season thing because it's obvious she has potential. Even if we're talking about her not being the greatest offensive player, well, she won a national championship and she was one of the top draft picks, and she's averaging again. She's one of the best rebounders in the WNBA, so she has potential. I think that much is obvious. I agree with you that I think it's got to be a lack of preparation thing because at times she almost looks uncoordinated, and there's no way that you should be saying that about a professional athlete. But and sometimes it looks like she doesn't know how to dribble. Like whenever she's in a fast break situation, she doesn't look comfortable getting the ball down the court. Her layup attempts, again, it's the first shot that they teach you in basketball, and her layup technique is off just on regular layups. I would understand if we're talking about like a Derrick Rose double clutch hanging in the air reverse. Yeah, sure, that's one thing, but like just running a straight line to the cup and going up with her right hand looks awkward at times. So my only, and I'm not there. This is not report or anything, but I would just have to assume that she's not putting in that much work in the off season.
Yeah, definitely. She's not there yet. Maybe she'll get there someday. But it's funny too because if you took the male equivalent of Angel Reese, she would not have a job in the NBA.
Well, I remember, I remember this was a long time ago. I maybe 20, I guess not that long. Maybe let's say like 2017, 2018. Brittany Griner was talking about the new contracts. This is when NBA contracts really started to skyrocket. And there was a guard, he was a backup. Matter of fact, let me pull up his numbers, see what he averaged. There's a backup guard named Tyler Johnson, who, if I'm remembering correctly, signed a 4-year, $80 million deal. So for his career, Tyler Johnson averaged 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 42% shooter. Best year of his career, he averaged 12 points. I think it was might have been for the Miami Heat when he did that. But he signed this deal, and Brittany Griner tweeted something essentially saying, like, how the hell does Tyler Johnson get this type of money? I'm literally better than Tyler Johnson. And it's like, is Brittany Griner far more dominant than Tyler Johnson is in the WNBA versus the NBA? 1,000%. But with the attention, the money, the opportunities that have been available in men's basketball compared to women's basketball, the men's game is further along. This is kind of what we were talking about with how is Caitlin Clark so high on the record books already in so many different categories. It's like, well, there just hasn't been as much talent in that league compared to the men's league. The WNBA didn't exist for 30 years when the NBA was. So the WNBA is still playing catch up. But kind of to what you're saying there, yes, I agree.
Well, it's crazy too. Caitlin Clark is now tied for first all time with Courtney Vandersloot in 20-point, 10 assist games, unless she had one last night, which I don't think she did. She'd be the leader now.
She did
But
not, yeah. She only
let's
scored like 14.
let's imagine that she's going to take over that record in the next couple weeks. They had played like 400 to 500 games. Like Diane Taurasi was below her. I think she was at like 540 games. Don't quote me on that, but it's around that. And like Diane Taurasi was one of the people shit talking Caitlin Clark coming to the league, and she's already broken that record. And I get it. Like there's probably more people that can make like back in the day, four teams when Taurasi played, 2 teams, 3 teams could win national championships. So obviously the WNBA is not going to be as good. There's going to be less people making shots. It's going to be tougher to get the assist. With that being said, though, kind of embarrassing for the old heads of the WNBA.
I do think Diana Taurasi's comments were made out of insecurity, though. I think there are definitely people who
She
are
should be.
jealous of Caitlin Clark. I think Taurasi, I don't think she was jealous. I think it was insecurity.
Well, look at the stats. She should be insecure because Caitlin Clark whooped her ass.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
Clark, even if she didn't, the fact that we all knew what type of player Caitlin Clark was coming into the WNBA. And if you're somebody who's not ready to have your records broken and you see this person coming along, you kind of see the writing on the wall. You know what's coming.
I still don't know why. And again, we talk about this a lot, but I don't know why she was the chosen one. I still don't know why. And I get
So
it.
can I offer you a theory on this?
Yes.
Because one of the I would say the main reason that Steph Curry, so we all know LeBron is the ratings king for the NBA. Steph really is not that far behind, and then it kind of falls off a cliff on the next guy. I think Durant might be third from a ratings perspective, but I think the reason that Steph has been so marketable is Steph is probably 6'3", maybe 6'2" and a half. But 6'3" is tall, but it's not like unreasonably tall. You'll walk down the street and you'll see somebody who's 6'3". With a guy like LeBron, you're not going to find somebody who's 6'9", 260, looks like they were made out of a marble slab. It looks like a Greek god. You're not going to find a Giannis who's 7 feet tall. And those guys are dunking and they've got these huge, massive wingspans and they've got huge muscles. They're yoked up. With Steph, he looks like a fairly regular guy who does something we can all do. We can all go to the court and we can all shoot 3-pointers. Caitlin Clark is kind of that same thing where she's 5'11". It looks like she can't even jump over a phone book, but all she does is, I want to say all she does, she primarily shoots threes and passes the ball and drives to the rim. It's like we can do all of those things. So it's more relatable because when you watch her, it's like I can do that. And the next time you go to the park, you try to emulate some of the things you've seen. Whereas again, with we'll use a Brittany Griner, for example. Like she's one of the few women out there who would consistently dunk and she's 6 feet 9 inches. It's like I'm not inspired by that because it's not something that I can personally achieve.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I also think playing at Iowa helped because obviously Iowa football is big, but they can't score. I think from an old person perspective, usually attends these college basketball games, it's older people. There were probably a lot in Iowa that enjoyed watching Caitlin Clark too. So I think that also helped the appeal of her going to a school like Iowa rather than if she went to I don't know, an Alabama or something like that.
That's actually a good point too, because if she had gone to let's say a UConn, not saying that Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Paige Beckers, all these great players that have been there, not saying that they're not marketable or inspiring or anything, but it's another in a long lineage.
Yeah.
Iowa, it was very much a standout phenomenon sort of deal.
Yeah, I don't think going to UConn. I don't think we're talking about the same player if she goes to UConn because she's playing with Paige. She's playing with like even with Paige, like you're talking about Ozzie Fudd and Sarah Strong. Like you're talking about these girls coming up. So I don't think she would have been the same player going there, had the same pop. But anyways, Grant, that was enough WNBA talk for the day. How about those Knicks? Knicks. You know what? I was so
This is your
happy.
moment.
I
Take
was
take
so
take the floor.
happy. I was so happy with how that Knicks Pacers game one turned out because the entire time that Boston lost game one, two, unacceptable. The Celtics should have easily won games one and two. But the Knicks fans come in after the Celtics fans come out and say, hey, we never should have lost that game. Because realistically, when you have a 20-point lead late in third quarter, you should not blow the game, especially twice. Knicks fans come out and say, hey, we should have never blown that game. That's one of the worst losses I've ever experienced as a Knicks fan. That was our game. We dominated it. Like we blew it down the stretch. Like we should be up 1-0 right now. But when the Celtics fans were saying this, Knicks fans, oh, we made all the shots down the stretch. We outplayed you guys. We were the better team. Like we can, but it was just deja vu, just flipped and reversed. And it's funny how Knicks fans now believe that that game was one that they should have won when Boston game one, which was actually an easier comeback than the Pacers had mathematically, not by much, but mathematically it was slightly easier. They said that game was one that they deserved to win. Isn't that funny, Grant? It's really funny.
It's a nice story for just the way that life goes because it's very much karma. It goes around, comes around. And just to put into perspective how outrageous this comeback was, No player in NBA playoff history had scored 20 plus points in the final 5 minutes of the game until Aaron Nesmith. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, nobody ever did it. NBA teams were 0 and 970 over the last 27 years when trailing by 14 or more points with less than 250 left. That was the first time in 971 games that the other team won. Since 97-98, teams are 4 and 1,640 when trailing by 7 plus in the final minute of fourth quarter overtime in the playoffs. Of those 4 wins, the Pacers have 3 of them in these playoffs. So 3 of the 4 wins, 1,640 losses. It's just this. I was at the gym yesterday, and on the TV, I could see it was First Take, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but there was the big banner, and it said "Team of Destiny?" question mark with the Pacers, and that really gave me pause to think because I believe in things like teams of destiny, and I believe in sports gods and higher powers, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and it really got me thinking: Are the Pacers the team of destiny? And
No.
I'll be honest, I don't think they are because they're playing very well. That's the thing. This isn't something improbable. I've said this I don't know how many times on this show, but they're like 44 and 15 since the start of the new year, which is the third best record in the NBA. And the craziest thing about game one, you look at their shooting percentages. They shot 51% from the field, 40% from three, 75% from the free throw line. That lowered their true shooting percentage in the playoffs. That was below their standard for how good they were. So is this team of destiny? No. This is just an exceptional team that so much of the basketball world did not pay attention to. And granted, was the comeback improbable? Yes. But at the same time, it's the third time in these playoffs they've had something like that happen. This is just what they are doing. They are an excellent team, and they show up in the biggest moments.
It should have never happened, but like Knicks fans can't sit here and be like, we should have won that game when you go back to games one, two. If you admit that you stole a series from the Boston Celtics, I'll let you say you should have won game one. But if you say, hey, we were better than Boston the entire time, games one and two, we made the shots in the fourth quarter, they didn't. Like, you can't have it both ways. So that like this is a game the Knicks should have won, but they did not win. So that's what it comes down to. They didn't make the plays down the stretch, just like Boston did against New York, and that's why the Knicks are here against the Pacers. It's funny, Grant. I've been posting a lot of videos, and people are like, "Yo, shut up! Your team's out. Your team's out." I comment back at them.
What's that?
I said, "I got my ring, 2024 champion." I said, "You ever seen a parade with duck boats?" I said, "I had that last year." I said, "What have you
That's
guys won in
good.
New York? Nothing."
That's good. Tanner, Tyrese Halliburton on go ahead or game time shots this season at the end of the game, 11 for 12.
He's a
Most clutch
baller.
player in the league, many are saying.
You know what, like he got voted most overrated player, which is a bunch of bullshit. Like he's that guy.
That awoke the demon in him.
It did. He's been really good since then, I feel like he's gotten
Yeah, I
better
mean,
since then.
31 points and 11 assists in game one. An update on my bet, Tanner. I don't know if you'll remember, but I had Cat most points scored in this series for plus 600. He had 35, and I was feeling great. Jalen Brunson had 43. So I'm going to need Jalen to get in some foul trouble. Maybe he can foul out in the third quarter again. That would be helpful.
Maybe he's a call up SGA to figure out how to go to the line, but that doesn't really work for your bet. But SGA, I'm getting sick of him. We'll talk about him in a minute, Grant. I'm pissed off at SGA. I don't like him. I don't
Well,
like him
shall
one
we
bit.
transition on over? Actually,
Well,
let's
let's
talk
give a
about
pick.
game two here.
Let's talk game
Yeah.
two. I'm going to take the Pacers again because I think the Knicks just have karma, and I think the series is going to be over in 6 games.
So I had Pacers in six before this series began. If I'm going to stick by that, then I would take the Knicks to win this game. And to be fair, I do think the Knicks will win. In no way do I think it's luck that the Pacers won that game. That being said, and as you pointed out numerous times, the Knicks absolutely should have won that game. They were up by 16 or 18 points with like 8 minutes to go. And you just have to close those out. Jalen Brunson, again, 43 points, Cat, 35 points. They had no problem scoring. I question their decision a little bit to play the Pacers game of running in transition and just playing the high tempo sort of style they did. because you're asking for trouble if you play into the opponent's strengths. But again, New York's offense was really good for the most part in this game. I mean, McHale and OG gave you 16 each, and that was an afterthought. So I'll take the Knicks to win this one. As far as the spread, I could honestly see the Pacers covering the 6 points and the Knicks winning on the money line. I wouldn't really advise betting that, so I would just make the decision: do I want to go with the Pacers spread, or do like I want to wait a little bit, see if the Knicks fall behind, or maybe they're down like four and you get them for minus 120 on the live money line. That's probably something I would do.
Yeah, I just want to see the Knicks fans suffer. So I want to see them suffer. But anyways, guys, we're moving on to our final topic of the show. Got about 10 minutes left here. So Thunder versus Timberwolves, Grant. This is an interesting series for me because when I look at how it's gone so far, the Minnesota Timberwolves cannot play with OKC. Like that is clear. And it's not that they can't necessarily play with them. It's like they give up. Like OKC starts going on runs. Like, game one, they were controlling it till the third quarter. And then, OKC whips off a 17-2 run because it's OKC scores. They get to the rim. They make their free throws, whatever. They mid range. Like, Caruso was in the mid range last night, like unprotected the entire night. Like, he was just knocking down shots. And then you go to the Thunder. It's like jack up a three, jack up a three. Like, hey, I don't know who, maybe it was Mike Conley. I'm not really sure. I had it on like the background a little bit, but there was some dude trying to do like right and left hooks across the paint all night and it wasn't working. I don't know. You remember that was?
No, so I'll be totally honest. Being down here with the girls' family, we had it on in the background. I wasn't
I
playing. I was seeing the game flow, but I wasn't getting the nuances, if you know what I'm saying.
I was getting pissed off because I have Timberwolves to win the West. It's not going to hit. I know it's not going to hit, and I'm watching it, and I'd like basically turned it off because I was just sick. But I think the bigger issue here, we got to stop calling these fouls on SGA. Like he's a great artist, sale artist. He sells it all, but it's ridiculous, and it's to a point. Doris Burke last night was calling him a free throw merchant on the broadcast.
So I find myself in a very weird predicament here with SGA because I want to make myself very clear. I don't enjoy the foul baiting, and the NBA tried to legislate a lot of it out. James Harden and Trae Young are responsible for that because they were pump faking and jumping into people, or not even pump faking. They would just, as soon as they felt a defender behind them, like if they got the defender on their hip coming off a pick and roll, they would jump backwards into them, and it would be free throws. And the NBA said this is an offensive foul if you do it. SGA doesn't do that. The way the rules are written, he's legally seeking contact. And I want to be clear, he is getting fouled. Now, the problem that I have is the amount of force and contact that he is getting hit with is so significantly less than the other superstars get. If you look at the way that the Thunder defend their opponents, if they tried to defend SGA that way, Caruso and Kaysen Wallace and Jalen Williams would foul out. So it's a tough conversation to be a part of because like SGA is getting fouled. I want to make that clear. The issue is again the discrepancy between what constitutes how much physical contact constitutes a foul or not. Because if we're gonna call these if we're gonna make these calls the way we are for Shea, then the Thunder's defense is great, but they should not be allowed to do half of the things they do. When they played Nikola Jokic in the last round, like they were all over that man. They were clobbering him. With Anthony Edwards, they're being physical. And this is something that has also happened throughout the course of NBA history, where like Shaq, for as physical and imposing as he was, he had a bad whistle because he got fouled 10 times on every play, but it's a bunch of dudes who are smaller and weaker than him, so the refs aren't going to call it. LeBron has an awful whistle. Giannis has an awful whistle because these guys are so big and strong. Shea is 6'6" with long arms, but he plays very small. So any contact he feels, he embellishes it and he gets to the free throw line. And that's the disappointing part. And I don't know quite what the NBA wants to do about it, but there needs to be an agreement of there's a baseline for the level of contact we're going to allow in this play, and we're going to maintain that no matter who's on offense, no matter who's on defense.
Well, he's the king of and ones too because he barely gets fouled and then he's able to get a clean shot off. Like and he's very good at throwing his body backwards, like driving into somebody, throwing his body backwards, making a facial expression look like he got hit with an atomic bomb, and then it's like a clear layup off the glass. Like the and ones are ridiculous with him because a lot of times they'll call the whistle and he had barely gotten touched and it's a clean shot and it's ridiculous and it's not. And honestly, like again, I'm betting on the Timberwolves. Like I was angry because of that, but like just watching the game and I'm sitting there as like trying to be a fan of this, like this is not fun to watch because it prevents the Timberwolves too from being able to go on runs consistently, and
No,
that bothers me.
you know what's the funniest part is the Thunder are a fun team to watch, and the only thing about them that isn't fun is the MVP of the league, which it should never be like that. Like the MVP should be the most exciting player. LeBron in 2012, Westbrook in 2016, Giannis in 20. Like those were some of the most fun players that I've. Kobe back in I think it was '08, Iverson in 2000, 2001. Like these guys were so much fun to watch, and it's the best team in the league is unwatchable when their best player is doing what he's doing.
And SGA made some great shots, like the step back three before the half, like was
Yeah,
really
he's
great.
awesome.
But he doesn't use that part of his game as much. It's like get to the free throw line and again, it demoralizes the viewer. Like I was bored watching the game last night, so I can't imagine how Minnesota. And I know there was comments that came out of the game last night just about how to defend him, and like they're sick of it. It's mentally draining to have to defend him because he is just getting call after call. Like he got 15 free throws last night, made 12 of them, I believe, 13 of them. Like it's really hard to win with that. And now with that being said, Minnesota is not doing the things needed to win outside of that. Like they're taking bad shots, they're missing wide open threes. You can't get away with that against a team like OKC, especially when Shai's getting to the line every freaking minute.
Yeah, Shai's ability, I liked what you said. His ability to get to the free throw line just kills your ability to make runs, as does their defense. Their ability to force turnovers. Minnesota in this series has a 1.1 assist to turnover ratio, which is just egregiously bad. You can define this however you want if Minnesota can play with them. I do feel like they've shown that they can play with them for stretches. They can play with them for quarters. They can play with them for halves. But in totality, and if you want to say it's a depth thing, if you want to say it's coaching, if you want to say Shai's better than Ant, however you want to slice it, I think there are valid arguments to all of it. They can play with them, they just can't play with them for four quarters.
Yeah.
And with the way things are going, this might be a sweep.
Yeah, I think it's done in four, maybe probably five realistically, but I don't see Minnesota having the ability to win a game at home. I really don't. This Oklahoma City team reminds me of UConn 2 years ago. It was like you go down seven, you're done. Game's over.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah, especially with some of the I think Indiana has the best chance to beat Oklahoma City just because their offense has so many answers. And the way the Thunder defend, they take away so many things from you. So you need answers. And with Mike Conley not playing up to his level, Julius Randle in game two not looking like game one, with the bench completely disappearing, Minnesota just has no answers right now. The second half, you could tell Anthony Edwards lost trust in his teammates, and he was like, "I'm just driving every single play because we really don't have anything else we can do."
Naz Reid, terrible. Dante DiVincenzo, extra terrible. Unplayable. A lot of these guys just don't look good, but I will take Minnesota to lose the next one probably. I'll take them to lose. I'll take them to lose the rest of it, honestly. If you bet OKC for the next two games, you're probably in pretty good shape because I just don't see Minnesota winning two in a row at home.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how the next game goes. This might be a situation where like they go down 3-0, win game four, just so it's not a sweep, and then it's over in five. But yeah, I mean, you're getting OKC at minus 150 on the money line right now for game three. I would take that.
Yeah, definitely. But anyways, guys, that was Ride the Line for Friday, May 23rd. Keep subscribing to the show. Keep smashing the subscribe button. Views are going up. People want to hear about the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese beef, so we're going to keep talking about that on the show. And Grant, I hope that you stay clear of the Georgia Bulldogs racing team tonight.
Thank you, thank you. Hopefully, we're just coming back here. It's a graduation party, fire pit cornhole, all that good stuff. So hopefully there's no drive-in involved.
There you go. Well, that was Ride the Line, guys, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Check out WSN.com for all your sports betting content needs. And we will see you on Tuesday for another episode.